versus OnePlus 8 Pro. These two phones are at each end of the spectrum. The Redmi K30 Pro giving you the cheapest Snapdragon 865. The OnePlus 8 Pro, one of the most expensive flagship Android phones. You wouldn't think that though. On the specs sheet, they look so similar. Same processor, same amount of RAM, same size screen, same fast charging. Key difference is 60 Hz refresh rate on the Redmi and 120 Hz on the OnePlus 8 Pro. Yes, there is a difference. 120 Hz is super smooth. You notice it really in gaming at those higher end refresh rates. But 60 Hz is not terrible, and the screen on the Redmi K30 Pro is super good as well. I love the colors, love the way it looks, and it's bezel-less too. Firstly, I want to download a couple of apps from the respective app stores. They are the same apps, but will load differently depending on the times, and it actually was the OnePlus 8 Pro that just loaded the apps a little bit quicker. Only a couple of seconds in it though, so not a real world difference in my opinion. They both also have very good Wi-Fi specs. I did test these separately, although I put them side by side in the video so you can see. You can see the upload and download speeds between them. The K30 Pro just getting some higher scores by a little bit. Next, I want to use these two phones. I love the screens on these phones, by the way, but I want to use Meitu to make a collage. I have some photos and a video that were shot on each of the two phones separately, and I just want to upload those images and video to the app and then download them into a collage. The OnePlus 8 Pro just uploaded them fastest. About a second in it, and now I want to process those and export them. This for me is a good real world test, as people do this quite a lot, and actually there was zero difference between them in terms of exporting those images and video. Two optical fingerprint sensors on here. Biggest difference I see is the position of them. The K30 Pro's fingerprint sensor is a little bit higher up overall in the display than what you get on the OnePlus 8 Pro, but unlocking times are more or less the same. I want to export a 4K video here, so I have a 5-minute long 4K video in KineMaster, and I'm going to export it. Both of the phones, because they have the same processor, the best one can export the 4K video in 4K at the highest bit rates. Same video, same processors, same RAM and storage, same app as well, so they should be very close, but in fact it was the OnePlus 8 Pro that just loaded it first. Again, you can see just a second difference, which is to be expected. The hardware on the inside of these two is basically exactly the same. Face unlocking is going to be a big difference between them because you have the pop-up camera in the K30 Pro. The OnePlus 7 series, the Pro model, did have a pop-up camera too, so that would have been the same here. OnePlus moved to a cutout camera this time around, and it will obviously be quicker at unlocking. There is just no doubt here. But I would say the K30 Pro, for having a pop-up, is actually pretty quick too and doesn't get in the way as much as you would think. Both of them are really fluid and smooth in terms of opening the apps and the animations, even though the OnePlus 8 Pro does have that super smooth 120Hz display. The Redmi K30 Pro also feels really smooth in terms of the animations and the way that it flicks through the system. Like I said, gaming is the area where you're going to notice the biggest difference in terms of fluidity of the screen. Just to give you an idea of how quickly they load different apps, these are long opening screen apps. Will there be a difference? And you can see, no, there isn't. There is literally such a small amount of time between them that it's not even worth it me telling you the difference in time between them. It's not even a second. So you can be sure with either of these phones you're getting a very powerful device. And even the K30 Pro being a lot cheaper, it still is very powerful on the inside, just like the OnePlus 8 Pro. What is more interesting though is RAM management. Both of these using 8GB of RAM. Both of these versions have LPDDR5 RAM, which is the latest version. The very cheapest version of the K30 Pro has LPDDR4X RAM. I wouldn't imagine any real world difference though between them, but as these phones both have 8GB, they've done very well, and they kept all of the apps in memory that I opened, as you can see. Very pleased that both of them can handle all of these apps in memory at the same time. 8GB I think is enough for pretty much anyone's real usage. And because it's a speed test, we do have to run Antutu on the phones. Antutu tests the power of the processor and the system and the memory. It is not a be-all and end-all test, but it definitely gives you an idea of the system in general. And I'm expecting both of these phones to be very similar because, like I said, they have all the very similar internals there. But first I want to show you just quickly how the camera app performs, pressing them at the same time. This is slowed down to 250 frames a second, and you can see how quick the shutter speed is. The OnePlus 8 Pro gets into the gallery and processes the image fastest before the K30 Pro. But remember, this is slowed down really, really slow. So in the real world, it really is maybe not even half a second difference between them, but it's good to see. And how about the Antutu benchmark result test? The K30 Pro, 586,000. It actually beats out the OnePlus 8 Pro here on this occasion. That one just getting 570,000 overall. Subscribe for all the latest tech news and videos. That's it for now, but I'll see you in the next one.